We will touch on the racial discrimination with our PLO from QPS as well very soon, but we'll head over now to Dr. Dinesh Palipana. Thank you once again, Alfred. And well, if you'd like to just maybe give us a bit of an introduction to yourself. We did start off by acknowledging all of the volunteers as it was National Volunteer Week and very important dates in the Indigenous calendar and also for all Australians, but also acknowledging our frontline workers. So we're very honoured to have you with us and thank you very much for your time. And we'll hand it over to you. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me, guys. How long should I speak for, by the way? I shouldn't take up too much of your time.
Well, you've got 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
If you're gonna...
All right. Yeah, so thanks a lot for giving me some of your time tonight, and thanks for putting this on. And I was actually really interested to listen to Alfred's talk before, because we have quite a few international medical students that have been struggling during this time. And I was even talking to one in particular today who's got trouble accessing food and things like that. So it's nice to see all these support services come to life. So my name is Dinesh. I'm a doctor and I work in the emergency department at the Gold Coast University Hospital. We have the busiest emergency department in the country on the Gold Coast, but lately it's actually been very quiet for us, which is a very good problem to have. So it's not like the front lines of our colleagues elsewhere in Italy and the US and wherever else, where they're actually really struggling at the moment, and they're struggling to keep up with the demand, and they're struggling to save lives. All the things that we've done in the community here have really paid off. And as a result, you know, at the moment we have one person in our ICU and one person in hospital with COVID. So it's a really, really good situation to be in. And that's really thanks to what the community's done and the sacrifices they've made. Before the pandemic happened, or at the start of it, we were having some really, really scary and concerning discussions. And those were about things like healthcare rationing. You know, in the event, we looked at ways of how to maximize our intensive care capacity here on the Gold Coast, how to share it within Brisbane, how to access more ventilators if we needed, things like that. And we were having some really scary discussions because we explored what it would be like if we got overwhelmed. And we were talking about difficult things like, who do we give the ventilators to? And me, I have a spinal cord injury and my lung function's impaired. So for even me, I'm 35. If there's another 35-year-old without a spinal cord injury, they have a better chance of surviving because their lung function's intact. So if we came down to the situation where we were overwhelmed and we had one ventilator to choose between me and another person, medically, the choice is probably going to be against me. So we've avoided some really, really difficult and sticky situations like this, which other countries are actually having to face. And I've heard some anecdotes from other centers about how they've had to deny treatment to the elderly so they could keep the young alive and things like that. So these are just very, very bad things that we don't have. And things are looking really good for us at the moment. There's no evidence of community transmission, or there's minimal evidence of that in Queensland. So I think we've done really well. And hopefully we're not going to get to that point. We're at this really interesting juncture now where we're starting to lift all these restrictions, and we're all eagerly waiting to see what will happen. But hopefully Australia's the worst of it, over the worst of it. The other thing I guess we got to say is, you know, over the last few weeks, me and my colleagues in the hospital, we've started talking about, we've had so much support from the community when this started happening, and as we were getting prepared and as we were preparing for the worst, the community came and supported us, and we had so many nice gestures like food coming to us, and everyone expressing their gratitude and all these things. But now we're at a point where we're looking out to the community and looking at what we can do for you, because we're still employed. We haven't had to face these horrors that other countries have had to do. So a lot of my colleagues and I from healthcare and the hospital are looking at what we can do to support the community. And we've been having some conversations, like I had some conversations with Kevin and about what we can do to look outwards. So some of the things that we've seen that we're trying to support at the moment is things like domestic violence shelters. Sadly, their resource requirement is high at the moment, and donations are drying up too. So even in our hospital foundation, all the income streams that they previously had, they're drying up. But we're just looking at ways to support people in the community and trying to make things better for those people. We're trying to support businesses, because I know so many people are out of jobs, businesses have crashed. So we're really trying to look outwards, and I think we're just lucky. We're employed. We haven't had to face the hardships that our colleagues overseas have. So we're in a very good position. Well, I think we still really need to be. It's been really it's been a little bit dejecting to see some parts of the world really protesting. Even in Sydney and Melbourne, I think there were some protests about people that want to get back out quickly and get back to normal life really quickly. And for me personally, anyway, that was a little bit saddening to see, because we've made so many sacrifices to get to this point. Jobs have been lost, businesses have been lost, the economy's taken a hit, and we've got to this point where we've saved a lot of lives. We've only got, we've sadly lost around 100 lives in Australia, but compared to the United States, about to reach 100,000 deaths. In Sweden, I think they've had 10 times more deaths than us, or perhaps even more, with half the population. So we've done so well, and we've made so many sacrifices. But I personally think that the worst thing we could probably do is just to rush back into things and wind back all this progress we've made. So the things we probably have to do is just to take a measured approach and make sure that we don't lose the gains that we've made. Because like I said before, the discussions that we were having were really just horrifying. The scary things that a doctor never wants to face, or a nurse never wants to face, or no healthcare worker wants to face. We're here to save lives, and to do those things is just horrific. For example, I remember talking to one of my seniors who was talking about, when you get a COVID patient, you put them in an isolation room, and when they get, some of these people that get really, really sick from it have cardiac arrest and their heart stops, and you need to rush in and you need to do compressions and try to revive them. But with COVID, all the team that needs to get in there needs to put on their personal protective equipment first. So you need to put your gown on, your mask on, all those kind of things, and you're not really allowed to run in there to start compressions or anything unless you do that. So those are precious minutes lost. And then some of our colleagues in the United Kingdom, for example, don't have any personal protective equipment at all. So those are the kind of situations that we've avoided by taking these steps. The other thing I think is really important to keep in mind is that people's mental health is suffering as well. Everyone's isolated. They don't have the usual support services that they do. They don't have the usual outlets that they do. So there's a really good potential for, really sad potential for mental health to deteriorate in the community. And I think that's why it's really important for us to keep checking in on each other and keep trying to help out where we can, get in touch with people, check in on them, see how they are. conflict is, we've noticed an increase in conflict in a lot of the organizations that I'm involved in. And I think that's just because people are more edgy and they just don't have the necessary outlet and they're stuck at home. So we're starting to see all these things happen. And I think it's really important that we try to come together, support each other, and try to get through this as best as we can. But really, from a frontline health care perspective, we're extremely grateful for what the community did, not just to support us at the start, but to avoid this from happening, to avoid the worst things from happening. And you know, I think there's a lot of us working in healthcare right now that are looking to see what we can do to help. So always feel free to reach out and look out for each other. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to chat to you guys tonight.
I think we should all applaud that wherever you are. If you're able to stand up like I am, I'm going to stand up and just say thank you very much, sir. And please take our love and thoughts and prayers with your team and everyone that you work alongside. We really appreciate you. And thank you to our community for that very insightful, well, I think one of the most blessed 10 minutes I've ever had. And we met at the Gold Coast Titans. They had one of their community days there. So it was great to meet you and your mum, and hope your family as well. And the footy's back on. I just had this on the side. I don't know where I got it from, but I just had it on the side. He's very heavily involved with Titans, so go Titans and Broncos. It's okay. It's a long.